at the National College of Arts, where he was present. So we'll first say a little prayer for him. Amin. I would like to welcome the new Aga Khan, Prince Karim Al Husseini, and the fifth leader of the Ismaili Jamaat worldwide. And may he continue the noble mission of his illustrious father, whose commitment to art and culture, apart from many other things that he did, was exemplary. And this brings us to what we are doing today in this hall, and that is to launch this monograph that many of you have with you, which is a project of HBL. And I attribute this to the leadership of Sultan Ali Allana Saab, who is not with us because he is out of the country. And what he has done is that he, following in the footsteps of His Highness the Aga Khan, he spread that vision in many directions. But one of the things that he did, on the advice of his followers and his team leaders, was to set up an art collection, HBL art collection. And this is a marvelous endeavor because this collection rivals other collections, other such collections that banks such as the Deutsche Bank, that comes to mind immediately, set up many, many years ago in Germany. And the Deutsche Bank art collection is known worldwide. Deutsche Bank supports Frieze Art, one of the major art fairs in the world. And apart from supporting many other endeavors, Deutsche Bank also has a huge collection of art that adorns its walls, but also is also in the bank itself. It has a prize that it awards, a very prestigious prize, and so on and so on. And so we're looking to our own HBL to follow in what a bank such as the Deutsche Bank has been doing. So Allana Saab, after having set up this art collection, HBL art collection, the team comprising Maya Ismail and Jamal Nasir Saab, amongst others, set to work. One of the things they did was to appoint a curator. And the curator is a young man, also a student of mine and a great friend of Waqas's, because I think they were class fellows, or he was senior to him. Asad was senior to you. So quite senior, he says. Obviously, all these people are my students, so I, get all the years mixed up. But anyway, Asad Hai stepped into that role and has been remarkable. In 2016 is when they launched this art collection. No, not 16, 19 is when they launched the art collection. And what they started doing was acquiring works of very established artists and also acquiring works of emerging artists. So there was a kind of combination of the collection, what comprised the collection. And it's been a slow process. And of course, we keep saying that, the bank should really put its weight behind it even more, because it has thousands of branches across Pakistan and also many branches across the world. And wouldn't it be fantastic if Pakistan's art adorns the walls of those branches for the public to engage with it and to look at what Pakistan produces? And that is one of the best things that Pakistan puts forward to the world and gives to the world. So this accumulation of art is now to be seen in many places. But one of the projects that was something that happened after work was acquired initially and commissioned as well, was to get Waqas Khan, also my former student, to make 7 works. One of the 7 works comprises 20 small works. That completes the whole work. And I'm going to ask Waqas to talk about this experience and this relationship that was established between himself and the bank, and how this all happened. I believe Sultan Ali Allana Saab saw Waqas's work at Frieze Art for the first time and came back quite intrigued. And actually, that is where it all began, in a way. And then he started consulting the people whom he ought to have consulted and involving them in what was to happen next. So, Waqas, would you like to tell us how this relationship with HPL began?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I want to say thank you to you all for coming. Thank you. And I wanted to say, before starting this, I want to say thank you to my galleries, Sabina Amrani Gallery from Madrid and Prinzinger from Vienna, because they've been very supportive. They've been very supportive about this project. So, and I want to say thank you to all HPL team first. शुक्रिया मुझे बर्दाश्त करने का, क्योंकि ये बहुत it was quite a exercise. और my partner is here as well. Thank you to you, Bushra, for being super kind throughout. So let me try to answer. First of all, this is the first time I'm sharing this platform with my teacher, actually. Yeah. This is the first time. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy with this. It's an honor for me to. And because she has seen me, she knows me in and out. So आज मैं जो भी बोलूँगा खैर है. आज कोई मसला नहीं. So, like she said, it started from because HBL had this collection before. They had these works of all the artists in their collection before. So we started having this engagement of having how we can put these works in the collection. So it was, I would say, it was a bit long engagement. It was Maya and Jamal Saab was like, we've been sharing the notes all the time, how we can do it from everything, कि काम कैसे किया जाए, काम को लाया कैसे जाए, and the process of it includes everything from the framing, everything. तो हमारी ये बहुत ज़्यादा engagement रहती रही कि हम काम को कैसे to sum up in a way that we can show a body of work. And for me, it was a rare opportunity. I have to say this because I haven't exhibited for quite some time. So this is the rare opportunity for me to actually exhibit my works here. So that was like the best thing. So I was so excited. I was like, okay, let's do this and let's do it like this, all this way or something like that. So we had this conversation all the time. So hota kya tha कि I used to come because this is how my process works. So like I said, they were very kind. They were very supportive. They were like, okay, tum karo jo karna hai, tum karo sahi kuch. You know, one of those things. Like you, just this is a space for you, and how you can manipulate this whole space, how you can create something out of it. So मैं यहाँ आके रहता था. I used to live here. Like I used to come in the bank, and I used to walk in. I know everybody in that building. Like from the gatekeeper to the last floor. So I was having these conversations with those people. कि कैसे यहाँ पे बाकी काम भी, because they have other works too. तो होता क्या था, because this is how I work. I try to be in those spaces. I try to stay in those spaces and then get back to my studio. So this is how it started. This whole engagement has started this way. And then of course there was a lot of, because there was I won't call it, there are a lot of, because material issues and how to get the frames done and what logistics issues, and thanks to this team, they actually made sure that har cheez pahunche in time. So this is how it all started. Yeah.
Well, this is one aspect of the particular project in mind. And what we can see, some of us have had the honor and the pleasure to be able to see it installed in situ. And I'm hoping that in the future, it will be actually seen by many, many other people, by the public at large. And that is only possible when the bank decides to make spaces, it is more of a viewing space, a gallery, or something like that within the bank's premises, that it will become more visible. Well, let's not talk about that at this point, but let's talk about this particular. First, I'd like to talk about the monograph, and then we'll talk about what you do and how you make and so forth. So the monograph was also part of this larger project. And this is the interesting thing is that Waqas has something like 6 monographs that have all been published overseas. And there was no book in Pakistan on his work. So in that respect, this is the first. And it is a splendid monograph, because if you look at the quality of the book, it has been superbly designed. It has been, I think the cover has been designed by Sara Aziz, who is a graduate of Beacon House National University School of Visual Art and Design. The printing has been done by Topical printers in Lahore, Nasir Baloch, who is dedicated to excellence in printing. And the paper is superb. The design work inside is superb. And apart from that, the main people who have been involved with the production of the book, starting with the great editor that we have, Mariam Hassan, who looked at everything very, very carefully. There are three major contributors. The first contributor is Jonathan Jones, who is the art critic for the Guardian newspaper in England. And he is an acknowledged art critic and has also written other books as well. And he was one of the first people who, after Waqas was nominated, shortlisted for the Jameel Prize in 2013, Jonathan Jones was the first one to write on his work. And that really sent ripples across the artwork. The second person who's written an extensive essay on Waqas in this monograph is Zohreen Murtaza. Zohreen Murtaza is also a graduate of the National College of Arts. She's a scholar. And she is someone who has interviewed Waqas innumerable times. And she has done a very deep study on his work, contextualizing it with her own research. And she has come up with an excellent essay, which all of us will read, which I have, of course, read already. And the third essay is by Sara Khan, a fiction writer who lives in Islamabad. And again, what she has done is that she has taken us on another kind of a journey into Waqas's making and living and so on, which is really very, very enjoyable. And all of this has been summed up in a preface by my teacher, Professor Salima Hashmi, and the great doyen of art. And no book would be complete without her preface or comments or some part of it, at least. And then, of course, Asad, who's written his curatorial note, and Ambreen Karamat, who has to be acknowledged at this point, of the White Turban Consultancy, who has been bringing out time and again excellent books on art. And we're very proud of her contribution, because this is something that we lacked. We didn't have books and monographs and edited books written by people on contemporary art or on modern art, on different topics related to various aspects of art. And I'm not referring to Fakir Ijazuddin, of course, but because he's a scholar and has produced, as he said today, 23 books. But I must say that the White Turban Consultancy has been remarkable in their contribution, and they have really supported the arts in a big way. So everyone together, this whole teamwork has been is something to be lauded. And you're very fortunate to have all received copies of the book. And I hope it gets disseminated to many people, and that people learn about Waqas's journey and about his incredible art-making processes through this book. Now, I would like Waqas to talk.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please do. I'm really happy if somebody's asking me a question. Yeah, go ahead.
So yesterday it was a so Madam came yesterday. So I took her. She was. So you have seen the works in the tower. So I want you to share with me your experience instead of I'm taught, because it's a rare opportunity to have you share
Okay.
with me right now. So I would love to listen when you look at those pieces, because I've showed you how those pieces has been staged there, like how we curated that space and something like that. Would you like to talk about that first? And
Well,
yeah,
there was some part of the curation which I liked very much. I thought that they were located very well. There were some that I had my comments about, and I made
yeah,
those. I told Waqas what I felt. But what I liked very much about the work is, and for me, because you see, so much has been written about the work. He is, they talk about his links to Sufism and his breathing practices and his, engagement with the work in a particular sort of trance-like frame of mind, and so on and so forth. Well, I was not looking at it necessarily like that, because I know that the scale of the work, particularly, but even if it's small or if it's very large, and the very large works, obviously the involvement is of a different kind as to when the work is very, very small. It's the nature of how an artist engages with that work is different. I was looking at the work when it moves from a Vasli surface to a canvas surface, a decision that Waqas took, and I was aware of what he had
yeah,
done earlier. And so the scale to the big, large canvases is something which, when I looked at very closely yesterday, it was something that gave me a lot of pleasure. And I also paid homage, the two of us did, to my Ustad, and that was Zahurul Akhlaq, because he pointed out to us that it is all to do with the surface, that you have to prepare your surface according to the work that you're going to execute on it. And I'm sure that Ijaz will back me on this, because when a miniature painter is preparing
yeah,
his surface
yeah,
and preparing the Vasli, as Waqas, who took miniature painting as a minor subject, while he was doing printmaking as a major subject at the National College of Arts, he knows that when the Vasli is being prepared and when the surface is being burnished,
yeah,
that preparation is very critical, because it is only then that the paint is and the brush works in a particular way, and the paint is laid on in a particular manner. And similarly, if you are working with acrylic on canvas or with oil on canvas or on linen for that matter, then again, the surfaces have to be prepared according to what you
yeah.
want. And so we took great
Pleasure.
pleasure in looking at the surfaces in great detail.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this detail is going to interest any of you, but certainly for us it was very pleasurable. And then to see how Waqas, I kept asking him, okay, so what kind of a pen are you using? So you're using a rotring pen, and you're using a pen which is, what did you say, 0.5
0.5 and 0.1.
and 0.1.
Yeah.
So both the pens were being used to make these incredibly fine marks, which are like tracery. They're almost like making lace. If it were an embroiderer, they would be like actually stitching very, very carefully. And so the process was something which really engaged me a great deal, because I was thinking of all these fine etchings, for example, in which we have examples of great etchers, great drawers who would be drawing with their etching needles, or engravers who would be engraving copper plates with their engraving tools. and making these marks that would then ultimately be printed and inked and printed, and then
And
these
paste.
wonderful, amazing prints would come from them. But here was Waqas, who was working on these very, very large surfaces, and he shared with me that he had 4 or 5 swarthy men, strong men, holding these canvases which weighed many, many kilos, and he had to keep moving them round and round because many of them are spherical. If you have, when you see these images, you can see from them, and the only way that you can actually work with them is to keep actually moving them around and then continuing with that whole process. Then we talked about how, for me, I felt that nature had a lot to do with what his work was about. And we talked about the years that he spent in Akhtarabad, actually going to school over there, going into the fields, going into the forests, working with the munji and the all the crops that were being grown, and really feeling them. We talked about him working with the takhti and putting the gachi on the takhti, and then writing with the reed pen on that takhti, and the mashq, the repetition of practice over and over and over again with the ustad.
Exactly.
Right? And so this was the kind of conversation we were having. And then we talked about the sand and the sky and the wet earth and the colors that emerge from that. I mean, looking at the sky, blue skies. Do we see blue skies?
Yeah.
I don't think we see blue skies. But nevertheless, we dream of them. And we look at the sand. And we see the mica in the sand and those speckles in the sand. And we look at the marks that Waqas is making, and are they just intuitive? Or is he really looking at those marks, and how much of that, some way or another, comes into his work? So now I think I've said enough. But this is you're supposed to be talking about your work, and you're making me do all the talking.
I think I already said it. आज मेरे उस्ताद मेरे साथ है, मैं जो मर्जी करूँ.
अच्छा तो करो.
So basically, so how this practice start from a small scale, like very small. Start from a very small works. So how it starts, you have to put yourself in that space. I call it very mood, or you can call it in a way that I need to be in that space that I'm going to start something on a large scale. It does not start on a large scale like, okay, I'm coming in front of the work and I've started something. No, I have to put myself in that space, which is I don't know where it is coming from. Let me tell you. I don't know, because look at me, I don't look like an artist. But I just, so what happens is that, because it's just, so I started with the small pieces, very small ones. So I call them writings. And I title them Forming Spaces. So I put myself first in that mood and that trance or something, just to be in there. And after that, I jump on the large scale pieces. So, like I said before, and क्योंकि मैं थोड़ा सा simple बातें करने का आती हूँ, मुझे वो जगह जहाँ पे मैंने काम लगाना है, वो मुझे वो देती है सब कुछ. मैं जाता हूँ उस जगह में, मैं बैठता हूँ, मैं सोचता हूँ और मैं काम बनाता हूँ. और वही जगह जहाँ पे मैं बैठा होता हूँ, वही मुझे सब कुछ दे रही होती है. I live with that space. और मैं I visit those spaces again and again just to make sure the right work has to be placed at the right way. This is how it starts. So hota kya hai कि then when I jump on the big format, like a big works or something like that, so I have an idea कि मैंने क्या करना है. It's because if you look at these pieces, they are very defined forms, like circles. Everything is very defined, and but man, it does not end like that way. It just every day I'm writing. So this is my expression. Like these dots or lines, they are for me. These are writings. I'm writing every day a story, like a diary. I would write. तो मैं लिखता जाता हूँ. अगर आप देखिए उसको जो मैं कल आपको दिखाना चाह रहा था, जिन्हें आपने उसको नोट भी किया, कि I was showing you. So those impressions, those marks are changing because these words actually आप जो देख रहे हैं या आप love that you should go and visit HPL Tower and look at those pieces. You're not looking at the pieces. You're actually looking at my whole time. Like I'm in front of those pieces. I'm living, I'm getting aged with those pieces. The whole emotional side of mine. Because we're not static emotionally. So I'm writing every day. In another expression, I would say that. तो उस तरह ये शुरू होता है और उसी के साथ ही. And और ये बिल्कुल ही this exercise is very different. When you working as an like किसी भी लिखारी की तरह जो, so there's no gaps. The work जो भी काम है, जो the work I've started, it has to be finished. There is no breaks. There's no breaks. It has to be finished. It's like a long journey, even from months. Just me, the work, and inside cave of mine, like you have seen it.
Make a space.
Yeah.
I think what was very interesting was when Waqas said to me that, ma'am, what I do is that the only break that I take is that I leave the house and leave my studio, the space wherever I'm working, and I go for a walk.
Yeah.
And I go into the park. Or wherever I am, because if I'm working in my studio, then the closest place is really the park that I go to. And that's the place that I find great solace. And just communing with, just nature, the trees, and the grass, just being there, but being on my own. So it's a time that I really want to be solitary. I don't want people to visit me. I don't want to be communicating with anybody because I'm so engrossed with the process of making that it has to be completely undisturbed. Because if it is disturbed, something or the other will go wrong. And the rhythm of the work, when you look at the work, when you see it in real detail, it has an internal rhythm, and that rhythm cannot be broken. The other interesting thing is, and we discussed this yesterday, that it is not hard-edged. None of the work is hard-edged. It has a kind of internal web and flow. And we look at the work of many other artists that we are familiar with. I mean, I saw something and I said, there were these beautiful aquamarine works, which were from this Axel Verwoerd, which is one of his most recent exhibitions in Belgium. And I said, do you like Rothko? And he said, well, I mean, who cannot like Rothko? Because they're so wonderful. And again, it reminded me very much of that. But the thing is that the internal working, the internal mark making is something which is very particular to him. It is quite unique. And that is something which from yesterday, I had been really engrossed in just absorbing the work and enjoying that aspect of it. We talked about we were talking about weaving. Yeah. We talked about embroidery. We talked about weaving. We said, we looked at pulkaris. We talked about pulkari and the weaving in pulkari, the stitching of the pulkari stitch with silk on cotton and the slightly bigger stitch than the very fine Kashmiri stitch that you would find on a shawl. And and then the blemishes that somehow whoever's making that Fulgari suddenly decides, oh well, you know, it doesn't really matter. I'll put
Kuch laga
just a kuch laga dena chahiye. There's this little blemish, and that blemish makes it human. That blemish is that one thing that says that this is not mechanical. This is something that is made by the human hand and the human eye. And it's the artist saying, well, it's my thing after all. I'm the one who's doing it. I can do what I want, you know. So I can leave that so-called imperfection, which of course is the imperfections which make it so marvelous. And so we talked about that, and then we talked about weaving. And of course, because Waqas comes from a place where weaving is very much part of the culture, the village culture. You know, you've got the looms, you've got the cotton, you've got the weaving. Every place has its own economy. And so you're weaving cloth and so on, and the unraveling of it. And somehow these kind of experiences, they're very tangent, they're very tangible, and they're very, well, sentient. They're sensory experiences. And he is part of that, he responds to it. And somehow, maybe at that point, he didn't respond to it, but maybe at some stage, when he is making the work, all of this somehow becomes part of the art making process. Am I making some sense?
Totally agree.
So I think that it's about time we started. Other people, give them some chance to ask questions.
Please.
Any questions?
Is there any question for me, please? Do you have a question,
yeah.
please? Please.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Please.
Process.
Yeah.
You have a lot of works which are concentric in nature and some that are linear. So my question is two-folded. When you're doing the concentric paintings, do you actually start from the center and work your way out slowly? And does that pattern emerge in your mind of how it's going to work out, or it's already formed? And the second question is that you have lots of little disruptions in your work. Is that also very thought out, because it's aesthetically very pleasing? So I'm thinking that, is that a thought out process, is to break that work with disruptions for aesthetic reasons, or is it just all in the process?
So if you look at those pieces, so I start from the outside. Yes. Yes. Because this is, like I said before, this whole exercise actually taught me how the work should be placed. I haven't designed anything. You start from the outside, it goes toward inside. And the interruption and you're talking about, so it's just like I said earlier, it's like a writing. So when you start writing, because I said it, I'm writing every day. I'm holding the pen in one hand, and this hand is supporting the tip of the pen like a knitting, like the man what said, it's just like knitting. So these things become like you have a muscle memory at the same time. You have so these interruptions appears. I call it, there's a very famous dialogue जो मैं अक्सर बोलता रहता हूँ. The hands start dancing on the canvas. So it becomes secondary. The whole process it just leads you to, because you're totally there. Because मुझे भी ये नहीं पता था कि ये exercise कैसी है, because this work actually changed me so much. I have a certain history, which is I'm sure few people knows maybe. So, so this whole process actually changed me, and and it and it is teaching me at the same time how I should be putting up these pieces. How should we are doing it? And I simply have this white canvas, a white surface, and I just come in front of it and just start it. This is how it happens. Yeah. Sorry.
अस्सलाम वकास
Sorry. Yeah.
वकास आपके और आपकी ज़ौजा के पास बड़ा अनमोल फ़न है जो आप लोगों के पास अल्लाह ताला ने आपको अता किया और आपकी मेहनत इसमें शामिल है। आप कोई यंग जनरेशन को ये फ़न पास करने की कुछ सोच रहे हैं कि जो यंग जनरेशन है उसको ये फ़न आप आगे पास ऑन करें या सिखाएं बच्चों को आर्ट्स के हवाले से, ऐसा प्लान है?
मैं ज़रा इसका जवाब मैं देना चाह रही
जी
हूँ।
प्लीज़।
मैं जो भूल गई क्या ना, वो मुझे नोट्स बनाने चाहिए, मगर मैं इतनी प्रोफेशनल नहीं हूँ इजाज की तरह। तो जो मैं भूल गई क्या ना, वो ये है कि चंद साल हुए बुशरा ने, जो कि इनकी बेगम हैं और मेरी शागिर्द ये भी हैं, और वकास ने एक फाउंडेशन खोला है जिसका नाम है नत्थू। उसका जिक्र है इनकी इसी किताब में, जहाँ पे एक पूरी क्रोनोलॉजी है, उसमें इन्होंने जो चीज़ें जिस साल में की हैं वो सब लिखा हुआ है। नत्थू फाउंडेशन जो है वो एक एजुकेशन फाउंडेशन है और इन्होंने स्कूल बनाए, और ख़ास तौर पे अख्तराबाद में इन्होंने वहाँ से शुरू किया है। और ये पहले तो ये जाते थे हर हफ्ते, और ये जाके वहाँ पे स्कूल के बच्चों को पढ़ाते थे, दोनों के दोनों। और फिर उसके बाद में अब उसको वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके एक्सपैंड कर रहे हैं। SOS विलेजेस के साथ भी इनका एक ताल्लुक है, उनके साथ भी काम कर रहे हैं। तो इनका एक बहुत गहरा कमिटमेंट है ऑल्सो टू एजुकेशन। अगर ये कुछ जवाब दे रहा है।
Sorry.
Please take this because the people at the back can't hear you.
Okay, better. I'll have to speak softer. I love your work. I think it is. आपका जब HPL पे हुआ था exhibition, I remember going to each painting and sitting for quite a while and looking. And I understand what you mean when you say कि आप painting के अंदर, क्योंकि वो भी painting बाहर भी निकलती है. It definitely has that quality. What I wanted to ask was the significance of lines and circles. मतलब lines भी हैं, लेकिन suddenly आपकी जो आप journal कर रहे हैं या लिख रहे हैं डायरी में, वो नुक्तों की क्या significance है? Like what happens? Is it organic? क्योंकि break आता है उसमें जब आपके नुक्ते line से नुक्ता बन जाता है. So I just wanted to know.
This exercise of doing these lines and dots, and I have done work with neon even. I made the sculptures even. And like I said earlier, it's कुछ चीज़ें हैं जिनका जवाब मेरे पास भी नहीं है, और मैं बहुत खुश हूँ उन चीज़ों से कि ये एक चीज़ कि I have this form, I have this thing in front of me, लेकिन उसको तोड़ना और जोड़ना ये मेरा इख्तियार भी नहीं होता कई दफ़ा. I don't plan these things. I don't plan at all. तो मैं इस जुस्तजू में हूँ. I am in this, क्योंकि अगर जैसे मैडम अभी फरमा रही थी कि हमें जैसे इस काम को जब शुरू में जैसे हम बात की तो it was talked as a something related to Sufi scripts. जैसे नुक्ता उसमें से हम बात करते हैं. जब उसके बाद बात होना शुरू हुई तो एब्स्ट्रैक्शन के ऊपर हमारी टॉक होना शुरू हो गई, ये एब्स्ट्रैक्ट कौन बनाता है. फिर पॉइंटलिज्म पे बात हो गई, और अभी रिसेंटली मैं हांगकांग में so the abstractions from the south, and I'm very lucky that there's a new debate जो जनरेट हुई कि abstractions from the south, क्योंकि हमारी यहाँ से इस बारे में बात होना शुरू हो कि हम, क्योंकि एब्स्ट्रैक्शंस ऑलवेज कम फ्रॉम द, ये सब जैसे यू नो दैट इज द यूएस ऑलवेज कि दिस इज आवर ब्ला 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 तो ये एक गुफ्तगू है, ये चलती हुई बात है जिस पे हम पहुंचेंगे कभी, और ये एक एक्सरसाइज है। और मैं अभी कुछ चीज़ों के बारे में खुद आई एम नॉट सर्टन, आई एम नॉट श्योर कि क्या होगा। अभी आज मैं आई एम मेकिंग लाइन्स एंड डॉट्स, एंड कल अगर मुझे किसी स्पेस में दैट आई एम गोइंग टू एग्जिबिट समवेयर एल्स, यू माइट फाइंड अ डिफरेंट वर्क्स देयर, बिकॉज इट डिपेंड्स ऑन वेयर आई एम गोइंग टू एग्जिबिट। अभी आई रिसेंटली टेल यू I've done this project, एक प्रोजेक्ट था उसमें मैंने ग्लास स्कल्पचर बना दिया, and I had never tried it. In this book there's a neon piece called Khushamadid. I'll tell you the story of that very briefly. अब वो मैंने कभी मैडम नहीं बना, नियॉन में काम नहीं किया या राइटिंग्स में कभी मैंने काम नहीं किया। तो मैं मैनचेस्टर आर्ट गैलरी में पहुंचा, तो जैसे ही मैं वहाँ पे तो जैसे I wanted to visit those spaces, so I was there. तो बात क्या हो रही थी कि मैं उधर देख रहा हूँ कि दैट स्ट्रक्चर, दैट बिल्डिंग, सुबह 8:30 बजे लोग उस बिल्डिंग के पास से गुजरे और शाम को 5:30 बजे दे वर कमिंग बैक लाइक अ रोबोट्स। और उस सिटी को मैंने देखना शुरू किया कि दे नॉट इवन लुकिंग एट दी स्ट्रक्चर्स। और फिर मैंने इन्वेस्टिगेट करना शुरू कर दिया विद डायरेक्टर ऑफ द म्यूजियम के, यहाँ पे बाहर के लोग कितने हैं, पाकिस्तानी कितने हैं, हाउ मेनी इंडियंस और बांग्लादेशी। तो आई स्टार्टेड इन्वेस्टिगेशन अबाउट दिस। तो it just came to me, I was sitting with this gentleman at the reception, like I said before. So I said, and I started having a conversation with him. What do you think, man, if I just put Khush Ahmadid over here? He was like, and he was an Iranian guy. He was like, very good. Very good. You know, that I was like, okay, let's put a Khushamdi there in front of the museum. So what happened, I had this conversation with Nick Merriman, so he was the director. So I said, I'm just going to put Khushamdi in front of your buildings. He said, why? I was like, I gave him the reason. I wanted to activate these buildings because these people are your people. They're not even getting inside your building. So I want them because all these nationalities, they know, they understand Khusham. So उसने कहा okay, एक नहीं फिर 3 लगाओगे तुम। I was like, what? But my project was only at Manchester Art Gallery. So he gave me Manchester Museum, he gave me Whitworth even. ये सब के बाहर खुशामदीद लगा दो। So this is how this whole practice basically starts. Like, so I don't plan, but I plan something after being there first. तो लेकिन जब उसकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट जब मैं एंगेज करता हूँ, then it ends up in somewhere else. So I'm still learning, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah.
मैं आपसे 2 सवाल करना चाह रहा हूँ।
जी।
एक तो क्या ये आप फर्स्ट से ये जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान में इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया, या आप या किससे इंस्पायर होकर ये स्टार्ट किया? दूसरा ये कि क्या ये जो आप इसके अंदर मीडिया या मटेरियल यूज करते हैं, ये कॉमन है या कोई स्पेसिफिक है?
पहला सवाल क्या था मैम?
कि ये जो आपने काम स्टार्ट किया है, ये कोई कॉमन है पाकिस्तान के अंदर, या आपने फर्स्ट इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया, या आप किससे इंस्पायर होकर ये आपने ये काम हाथ में लिया?
You were my teacher?
नहीं, देखें, इसका कुछ एक छोटा सा जवाब इसका ये है कि हर आर्टिस्ट जो है ना, वो अपने तौर पे और अपनी सोच के हवाले से, अपने फन के हिसाब से वो एक कोई चीज़ पेश करता है। अब ये कोई नहीं कह सकता कि पहले सबसे पहला वही था कि जिसने ये किया। ये आपका एक तरह से सवाल है। तो मैं ये नहीं कह सकती कि सबसे पहले यही थे। मगर ये है कि जिस अंदाज में इन्होंने इस वक्त काम किया है, और तो उस हवाले से शायद ये सबसे पहले हो जो कि इस अंदाज में काम कर रहे हैं। ठीक है ना?
Thank you.
और दूसरा आपका क्या सवाल था? मटेरियल तो ये इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं जो कि दिलचस्प चीज़ है, वो ये है कि पहले कलम, मैंने जिक्र किया था कि ये पहले कलम तख्ती पे काम करते थे, तो आपको मालूम है कि आप कैसे वो स्याही बनाते हैं और किस तरह से कलम को तराश के और फिर कलम से आप उस स्याही से लिखते हैं तख्ती पे। फिर बहुत सारी और तरीके आ गए, अब बॉल पेन भी हमारे पास है और तरह के हमारे पास आले हैं जिनसे हम लिखते हैं। तो एक कलम होता है जिसको कहते हैं रोटरिंग पेन, उसके अंदर भी स्याही होती है और उसकी जो नोक होती है वो मुख्तलिफ मोटाई की होती है। तो उससे ये ड्रॉ करते हैं उस कलम से, इसलिए इस किताब का उन्वान है अ मैन विद अ पेन।
Yes, please.
नूरजहां
madam.
यहाँ पे दीजिएगा, ये
please,
प्लीज
Hi.
पास
So mine is more of a practical question.
Please.
इतने बड़े कैनवस पे जब काम करते हैं, it's impossible. It's back-breaking work.
जी.
So I remember your first thesis at NCA. That was very playful. So you went from being a
Sorry.
so you went from
Please
being
pass
laid
this,
back to
please.
making such tedious artworks.
Can you repeat this? Because
So you
We can't
so I
hear
remember
you.
your first thesis at NCA. That work was very playful.
yeah.
So you went from being that laid back person to doing this work which is back breaking. Hours and hours, aankhein, back, physical work. So that I found very interesting. And how do you get to the middle of the canvas?
Yeah.
You know, he can't reveal all his tricks, you see. You have to leave something for him to hide from all of us.
Ma'am Noorjahan has a question, please.
Noorjahan.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
No, it's not working, Noorjahan. नहीं, give her another mic, please.
अपने सामने से हट जाइए।
हाँ, ये बिल्कुल
Sorry, Waqas, total admirer of your work, you know that. बहुत बहुत खुशी होती है आपके काम को देख के। Just a small question, wanted to know, when you start your work and you've explained how the space plays such an important role. So actually there are two questions. If it's not work for a studio, I mean for a gallery or for a certain space, and you just have to work, how does that happen then? Is it just your studio which inspires? So that's one. And the other, I want to know that you said that your work is, you decide of what it would be. So at what point does that is left behind once you've got conceptually worked out? इस यहाँ इसको लेके जाऊँगा आगे, तो फिर आपका intuitive ज़्यादा हो जाता है या फिर बीच में you have to step back and look and again redefine, or then that is just left behind and it's your intuition that takes you forth? I don't know if I've made my question clear.
Ma'am, thank you for this question. And when it comes to these, you have seen the repetitive works in all over the world, the different artists who has. So this is very, this whole exercise is very organic at the same time. But like I said earlier, but your engagement is so, like you're totally engaged with those pieces. You are there, basically, you are there, like physically, you're in that space. And of course, when you said about the studio space, studio is a space. So how it happened, because Maya and Jamal sahab even, I mean, go drawings bana ke, just referring you how this project happened over here. तो मैं इनको drawings बना के दिखाता था कि ये देखिए, like this is how it, and I've actually made those structures in my studio, like this whole space in their building. I actually made those spaces in that studio. Okay, this is how this work will be. But when, okay, let's suppose I'm not exhibiting in any space, and that's the question. I think I have those works with me. Yeah. Those works are with me, and they are those are the pieces which actually keeping me in this rhythmic movement as well, because I'm not stopping. लेकिन होता ये है कि sometimes when it comes to the smaller frameworks, उनको मैं place कर पाता हूँ क्योंकि they can be placed in the smaller format. They can, but when it comes to the large scale, so I try to keep them with me basically. I don't. So then there are certain works. जैसे आप आए थे HPL वाले में. So this canvas basically, the large format of 8 feet and 12 feet. I have done it first time. I haven't done it before. I haven't even tried to achieve that before even. So basically that space has allowed me to exercise that freedom to be like, okay, it's mine, I will do this and stuff. So this is how it happened. So this is how it works basically. Yeah. I try to. Yes. It's very much there. It's very much there. It's very much there. I'm not rigid. It's something. अगर आपने वो canvas पे अगर देखा हो, you can see those pencil marks even. I don't even remove them even. So I just leave everything. This is like the canvas. So I don't solve. It's just there. And I let this energy, which is. It's value making these kind of, it's not me only, the writers are the same. Any craft, like they are same, it comes to you. And I just, I don't let this external formula, I would say that too, no, iska design yahan se theek nahi hai, ye main aise kar do, no. I just let it be. I don't, and I'm a true believer of energies. And I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Any further questions? We've got somebody gesturing from the back that we have to wind up. So
Yeah.
that's it. This is the kind of gestures that we're getting from the back. So I think that I think what I find very interesting about this monograph is when you open it at the back, you see a chronology, and it's a kind of one of those concertina kind of chronologies. And it starts with 2008, which is the year when Waqas actually graduated from the National College of Arts. And it goes all the way to 2022. It doesn't go beyond that because I suppose the book was being designed at that until, in that time. And what fascinated me was that, there's a kind of slow movement to, there's one exhibition here, there's another exhibition there, there's something here, something there. And then after 2013, there seems to be this real flurry of activity, exhibitions, energy, and it's quite extraordinary. And I really congratulate him for that.
Thank you.
Because he is really, really at his prime.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.